Hi everyone, it's Lynn Terry, host of the Low Carb Challenge and the admin here in the group. And I wanted to bring up this topic, motivation, inspiration, and staying on track, because there's a really popular thread in the group right now, and I'll show it to you. I don't understand why I cannot stick to this time around. I'm struggling so hard. I start over every morning. So this is a pretty popular thread in the group right now, and there are a lot of comments that feel very sad, and they're showing a lot of frustration and stress and unhappiness and like just feeling discouraged and disgusted and things like that. And I don't want you to feel that way. So I want to discuss this a little bit. So let's talk about that. And if you'll comment, and we can just kind of have an open discussion about it. But if you'll comment and let me know, what do you feel is the thing that keeps you from staying on track? Like, what keeps derailing you or keeps you from being consistent? And I think this is a big topic, and it's different for everyone. So I went through a lot of the same things. I've been low carb for almost 8 years. That's a long time. So the first few years were really tough for me, and I was kind of on this roller coaster where I was on and off and in and out, and my weight was up and down, and it was, I would lose weight and feel great, and then I would gain it all back and feel disgusted, and it was this roller coaster of complete madness, mental madness, and I was stressed all the time, with myself, like, why do I do this to myself? So I think that in hindsight, for me personally, especially being low carb as long as I have been, I discovered in the end losing weight was the easy part all along. And I think it's getting over our mental hurdles, getting over our habits, getting over things that we're used to, getting over like subconscious patterns that we go through, reaching for this or, being used to that or just whatever. And so I think those are some of the hardest parts. That, and then there's stress, anxiety, depression, and when we go through particularly hard phases of loss and grief and things like that. So I want to just kind of give you guys some insight into what I've been through, because I've been through it all. I've been through overeating. I've been through several eating disorders, actually, from bulimia to emotional overeating, intentionally putting myself in what I lovingly call the carb coma. So I got addicted to that in a sense. Loneliness it played a big part of it for me. I didn't date. My husband left our family almost 19 years ago, and I didn't date for close to a decade. And food didn't let me down, like at the end of the day. And so I had all of these associations, mental associations with food and with eating and things like that. And then there's all these events. So events, I say, like holidays and weddings and babies and baby showers and cruises and vacations. And then there's, 4th of July. Now there's Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's. And it's something all the time, right? And then on top of that, I travel for work, and there are catered events, and there are business dinners, and there's, it's nonstop, right? So I've discovered, though, that all of that is easy. There truly are no excuses. There's low carb food anywhere. So, and you have to eat anyway, right? So it's just a matter of what you eat. It's just a matter of making the right food choices. And they're everywhere. They're anywhere. So I just did a whole series on Instagram on the Atkins channel about some of my favorite super easy meals to get on the go, as far as fast food or restaurants where you can grab dinner real quick on the way home from work, that kind of thing. So I'm going to post even more of those on my own page and kind of give some good ideas. But I wanted to talk about the deeper level issue, the root issue, which has absolutely nothing to do with what to eat or where to eat, but rather why we choose not to eat when we have that choice, like why we choose not to eat low carb. So I'll tell you a little bit of my story, but I'd really like to hear what's going on with you. And I've read this thread. I cried during part of it. I'm a softie. because I've been through every emotion, every struggle that was talked about in this thread myself, and I know firsthand what it feels like. I know firsthand what how frustrating it is and how stressful it is, and you start to have a confidence crisis, like, can I even do this? In fact, when I first started, I'll show you the thread I'm talking about here in the group. Maybe you've seen it. So this is the one that really got my attention and made me want to pop on here and kind of have a live discussion about what's going on with you, how can I help you, based on my experience and how I got over the hurdle. So when I first went low carb, I was scared to death. I'm just going to be honest with you. I had no willpower. I had no motivation. I did not consider myself a strong person. I was overweight. I was unhealthy. I was in chronic pain. I had no way to live an active lifestyle. And, you know, I'll backtrack and tell you a little bit more of that story in a minute, but you know, my mother actually inspired me to try Atkins. And she said, sorry, let me get comfortable. So she said, you really need to get a handle on your weight before it gets out of control. And that hurt my feelings, but that's a mom being caring and being a mom, you know, and I was getting to a point where I had been single for so long that, you know, if I kept going on the track I was going, it's probably going to stay that way forever, which I think that's really not fair to say, but I don't know, like it was more than just because of my size. It was because of my lack of confidence, lack of interest in going out, lack of, I was, you know, just really just kind of like starting to like, what do you call it? It's kind of like when you crawl in a hole and pull the hole in behind you, except I was the hole, you know, and I was really kind of shutting everyone out and sticking with food. So anyway, I was scared to death to get started because I thought, you know, I haven't finished anything I've ever started, you know, and I haven't succeeded at anything I've ever tried to do. And I went through this whole confidence crisis about it. And I knew that once I got started, I mean, I would have to do it to make it work, you know. And I was afraid I didn't have it in me. Can I do this? Can I stick it out? Can I not eat, you know, ice cream and donuts and blah, blah crap? Turns out there's low carb ice cream and donuts. Who knew? But of course, back then there really wasn't either. And so I decided to give it a shot, and I was amazed. I lost 8 pounds in the first 10 days, and I continued to lose weight to the point, you know, at the point that I lost about 23 pounds, I had been consistent. I was on a really good roll. All of a sudden, I realized my mobility was improved, and my chronic pain was gone. And this was a big deal for me. So not everybody starts a low carb diet for a different reason. You know, some of us for health reasons. Some people go keto, a ketogenic low carb diet, as a therapeutic diet for things like seizures, type 2 diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyalgia, chronic pain issues, etc. So my story is, I was a healthy, active young person and got in the wrong car with the wrong person at the wrong time as a passenger, and was an accident. It was in an accident, and it was a horrific, near fatal accident for all 3 passengers, myself included. And I have head trauma, so I'm deaf on one side. I don't feel this side of my face. I was originally paralyzed and bedridden. However, I had a miraculous recovery. So I am no longer paralyzed, although the nerve damage is still there. I don't feel any of this. I am deaf on one side instead of completely deaf. Originally, I was completely deaf and paralyzed. And so obviously that's not the case anymore. However, I did have a lower back injury in that accident that threw my entire back out of alignment. And within a year of the accident, because I was so out of alignment, out of balance, I fell and broke my tailbone on top of that while I was out of alignment. And it was never right since then. So this would cause what's called sciatica. So from this shoulder all the way down to the opposite foot, I was in extreme pain. And the pain would cause my muscles to respond and then my nerves to respond, to the point that my doctor ultimately wanted to diagnose me with fibromyalgia. And I refused the diagnosis. I said, please don't write that down. I don't know anyone that's thriving on medical treatment for fibromyalgia. And, but it was to the point that I was bedridden most of the time. I was on pain medication. I certainly didn't have an active lifestyle. And so if you can imagine, as a single parent with no extended family, not dating, not being able to get out and do things, like take dance classes or go hiking or any of the things, food became my friend. And that's kind of a sad thing because food can't friend you back, and so we develop these relationships with food and we develop these relationships with the scale. So it's regardless of whether you're, overeating, or stress eating or, just eating junk because you don't care about your health, whatever this relationship you have with food. And then we start to diet and we swap that obsession for an obsession with the scales. Now, food and scales both can't love you back. They don't care if you spite them. They don't care what you do. They're just going to be static options no matter what. I like just things, So I have done that though. Like I've been through the whole gamut. So I have been like, I've stepped on the scales, in the morning and looked at that number and been like, well, screw you. And then go eat whatever I want to eat. Like if I'm not going to lose any weight for 3 days in a row, I might as well just, eat 3 pints of ice cream. As much sense as that does not make. And let me just tell you, my scales never responded. They never cared. Spiting them never did that, never hurt their feelings or anything. So it was all pointless. And then of course that does make the scales move. It just makes them move in the wrong direction. So, anyway, so I was in this position with my health and it was getting worse and worse to the point that, at one point it was so bad. I was going to therapy at my chiropractor 3 times a week. Do you know how expensive that gets? I don't have any health insurance. I'm self-employed, but I was paying cash and I was going to my chiropractor 3 times a week for things like electronic therapy. He was doing muscle therapy, electronic therapy, putting me on the stretching machine, trying to get me out of pain because he couldn't even realign my back or do anything because I was so bound up and it was like my muscles were so tight, nothing was going to readjust. So this therapy went on for a while. It got to the point where I had to hire someone, and this is the most mortifying experience of my personal life. Maybe not, but it was close. Okay. One of the most mortifying experiences of my life. I had to hire a guy and he was actually a professional masseuse or whatever that I had hired to come over when I couldn't go out to my chiropractor appointments. But I needed electronic therapy and I hired him to come to my house and get me out of bed. I'd been there for 3 or 4 days, hadn't showered in close to a week and really needed to get to my appointment and he had to pick me up out of the bed and take me in my bathroom and undress me. This is so embarrassing if you can imagine. Undress me and even more embarrassing because he was a friend of a friend too, so it wasn't just professional, I knew him socially as well, so it's really embarrassing. But he had to hold me and undress me and then get me over the ledge into the shower, which was a huge undertaking because I couldn't lift my legs or anything. Hold me, he just had him hold me through the shower curtain, hold me so I could stand up to shower off and then drive me to my chiropractor appointment. So to tell you how much chronic pain I was in, I want you to kind of get a feel for that. It was horrible. What you see of me now is what you know of me now. I'm out hiking the mountains. I'm out water skiing. I'm out rock climbing. I'm out doing all these amazing things. So you might not ever imagine that I had a past like that. What I didn't know back when I was in pain, and even when I started the low-carb diet, is that carbs and sugar promote inflammation in the body. So if you have any type of arthritis or inflammation or inflammatory problem or fibromyalgia, anything like that at all, carbs are just making that worse, right? So I didn't know that. So going back to the story, I went low carb. I lost 8 pounds in 10 days. And then within the first, month or 2 months or 9 weeks or something, I'd lost 23 pounds. And all of a sudden it hit me, that I'm moving around better. I'm not reaching for the Tylenol and the Advil all the time. I'm out of pain. That was a shock. And that's when I started doing the research and discovered that carbs promote inflammation in the body. You guys, the following year, I got back on a water ski for the first time in 23 years. Literally months after a horrific hysterectomy, too. Like, I had an unexpected hysterectomy, like the first full year I did low carb, and it didn't go well. Anyway, that same summer, I got back up on a water ski for the first time in 23 years. You know how that felt? I was a competition skier when I was younger. And I grew up water skiing and loved it, but it was something I couldn't do ever again in my life. I felt like just because I made that one bad choice, getting in that one wrong car, with the one wrong driver. So anyway, to say that it has been the best thing I've ever done for myself, I'm going to start crying again, is an understatement. My quality of life is amazing. I can do anything I want to do now. Right? So that's part of my motivation. Also, I like the way it feels. To be in control. I'm not just saying to be like thinner. And I am, like you can see, I've got on a big shirt, but I am, currently about a size 8, and at 45 years old, that's comfortable for me. My body keeps wanting to go down to like a size 4 or 5 or 6, like between a 4 and a 6. And, so 8 is a little bit more comfortable for me at my age. But anyway, I'm very happy with the weight loss. Don't get me wrong. But what feels so good is the empowerment, the confidence that I have. I did it, you guys. I did it. And I lost the weight, and I got healthy, and I got out of pain, and I changed my entire life, and I'm having fun, and I can go do anything I want to do. And it's not just that, but I feel confident. I'm happier with who I am as a person. I feel empowered. I feel like I can do anything I set my mind to. That feels amazing. Now, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I know you've tried low carb or you've stayed low carb long enough to get that feeling, like I got this. I'm in control of this. And let me just tell you, the world is chaotic. And when it feels like the sky is falling and everyone's against you and everything's falling to, it's the one thing that you're in control of. When you can't control anything or anyone else in the world, and you really can't. You never know what's going to happen, right? But it's the one thing you can control, and that feels good. It's like a source of grounding, and I'm not a foo-foo person, but I will tell you it's a source of grounding. It's a source of, I stand tall, I'm in control of myself, that kind of feeling. I guess kind of the difference between I'm a victim of whatever comes with the day, the day controls me, versus I control the day. That's an amazing feeling. And when you're in that mode, things and people move out of your way to let you through. And good things are drawn to you. But when you're in the victim mode of, well, I'm not strong today because such and such happened to me. So you're allowing the world to control you. And I'm not saying, good or bad, whatever, however you want to be. I'm saying how it feels. It feels good, to be the one in charge of yourself, which is the only thing you can really be in charge of. Anyway, so you guys are not commenting, not in the mood to share what your struggles are. No questions so far, so I'm rambling then. But this thread, and I'll show it to you again, this thread really touched me and made me very emotional. I've read it 3 times now. I've read all of the comments. I cried multiple times. It's again inside our group here, and it says, I don't understand why I cannot stick to this time around. I'm struggling so hard. I start over every morning. And that just, I've been there and I know how that feels. Here's the thing. Do you want to struggle? No, right? Like, you don't want to feel that way. You don't want to feel disgusted with yourself. You don't want to feel discouraged in yourself. You don't want to feel like, I can't do it. You don't want to feel that way. You want to feel good and strong and happy and healthy and lean and proud of yourself and all of those other positive good things, right? So there has to be some form of motivation, like something. So here's the thing about motivation, though, because I said that when I first started too. I'm like, I'm not a motivated person. I'm not a strong person. I don't have any willpower whatsoever. That Dairy Queen is calling my name. Like I'm literally on speed dial. And so here's the thing, though. Motivation comes as a result of commitment, not the other way around. So you don't get committed to something because you're so motivated. Nobody's so motivated. Nobody. It's human nature is to find the easiest path possible. We want to skate by in any way we possibly can, and that is human nature. But when you commit to something and you see results, and you'll see results fast eating low carb, especially a ketogenic low carb diet, then that is where the motivation kicks in. So motivation comes as a result. It comes later. You don't start with motivation. So don't wait until you get motivated. You're not gonna. It's not gonna happen. You can't buy it on eBay. You can't buy it on Amazon. Nobody's gonna give it to you for Christmas. And so I really encourage you to just screw motivation and just get committed. And here's the thing. And we just had a question here. When did the 90-day challenge start? And that, okay, so sorry, I was checking out the settings there. The 90-day challenge started on October 29th, but you can join in any time. And we're just doing a year-end challenge right now, and then we'll kick off a New Year challenge, but you want to just go ahead and join in with us right now. So forgot where I was about, so the motivation. So I do a 90-day challenge for a reason, and I'll explain why I do a 90-day challenge. Usually, this is a shorter challenge because it's a year-end challenge till the end of the year. We're going to just kind of get through these holidays strong together. And I will talk about that too. Do you plan to stay on track for the holidays? Do you plan to just skip it for that one day and get back on track? Do you trust yourself to do that? I would love to hear your thoughts on that. Anyway, so my advice is this. There's a reason for the 90-day challenge. But what I'm going to suggest to you is that you just commit to 5 days or 3 days. Just commit to 3 days. You can do anything for 72 hours. You can. I mean, there are people out there who don't have the options that we have. There are people out there who don't have fresh water. You can do anything for 3 days. I promise you. Like, does anybody remember the movie where the hiker, the guy got stuck in a rock? He was climbing in a rock and he got stuck there for weeks, and it was based on a true story. And he ended up having to this is gross, but he ended up having to saw his arm off in order to get out of it and survive or something like that. Do you guys remember this movie? I doubt that if you had asked him before that, before he ever went in on that hike, hey, do you think you could go 10 days without water or food or human interaction? And he would have been like, no, I'm not that person. It's surprising what you're capable of or what you can accomplish when you have to or when you really want to. And you have to really want to. But just commit to 3 days. You can do anything for 3 days, just 3. And the reason I say that is because within 72 hours, a ketogenic low-carb diet is a natural appetite suppressant. It kills your cravings. You're going to notice, hey, I'm not hungry all of a sudden. I'm not craving that junk after dinner. You're going to just feel different immediately. And the reason is because this is not a traditional diet. There's a science behind the way it works. It works exceptionally well. You will have a very much less appetite. You'll feel much more satisfied. You're not going to have those high-low crashes throughout the day because your blood sugar's not spiking and dropping dramatically. And the whole process of going into ketosis, like I said, is going to kill your appetite and your cravings anyway. And it just becomes easy. So if you can just commit to 3 days, it gets super easy, just 72 hours. And start small like that and be kind with yourself. So let me get to the point though, why do I do a 90-day challenge? Because I know that seems like a lot, but come on, in the grand scheme of things, look how fast the last 90 days has gone by. For real. It was just New Year's to me. I'm pretty sure it was spring the other day, and now all of a sudden I'm freezing and wearing sweaters. Time flies. Time goes by super fast. 90 days is not that long. You can do anything. It's just 3 little months, 12 little weeks. That's it. But I'll tell you why I do a 90-day challenge. Going 90 full days without going off plan, not one single cheat meal, was the best thing I ever did for myself. It fixed my roller coaster issue. Remember how I told you I was on that dieting roller coaster where I would be on and off and in and out, and my weight would be up and down, and I was feeling great, and I was feeling disgusted with myself. And I went through this for years, you guys. And it is, why do we do that to ourselves? Why? Like, you know you're going to be miserable, right? Like, I used to think I was treating myself until I realized how I was treating myself. I was treating myself horrible. I knew I was going to be disgusted. In fact, I wasn't treating myself. It turns out in hindsight, and this is a real mental screw up, I was punishing myself. And I think I'm going to cry again. That's a horrible thing to do. You should always, always love and honor yourself and your body. Treat yourself the absolute best way that you can. And here's the thing, though. It would have been one thing if that quote-unquote treat had made me feel better, or had even been enjoyable half the time, if you want to know the truth about it. But it never did. Like, so I'll tell you a story, and tell me if you can relate. Now, those of you who don't have food addictions or eating disorders, maybe you can't relate to this story, but you can laugh about it. Okay. So at one point, I had, been eating low carb, for a while or whatever. And I think I got in a little stall or a little plateau or had a little tiff with somebody or who knows what, but anyway, I was just like, I'm just going to take a day off or whatever. So I go to get one of my favorite meals that's not low carb. And it happened to be like this thing that's toasted on both sides or whatever. It's really pretty in the picture. So I go, and it's a drive-through, and I'm not going to get real graphic about the actual food itself, but I'm all like, this is my day. I'm going to enjoy everything. So I'm literally going to eat like 10 meals today. I'm going to have everything that I'm not usually able to have. So the first thing I do is I go to this place, and I'm in the drive-through, and I order it, and I'm all excited, and I'm all happy, and I'm like, I'm gonna just like have one of these crazy food days and binge. It's a binge for me. I would go on binges, and binge eating is awful. It's horrible. Anyway, so I go and I order it, and I get to the window, and she hands it to me. And as usual, I'll check my order first, So I go and I open it and I check it. And they didn't even butter the bread, much less toast it. It was cold, unbuttered, untoasted bread, which was not going to taste good because that was like the whole point of this thing I was having, right? That's the part I loved the most about it. And I didn't just cry a little. I broke down. I had a meltdown in the drive-thru. This lady is looking at me like, I don't even know what to do with you. I had a complete meltdown. I went on a total binge. I was bloated. I was miserable. I was back in chronic pain. I was disgusted with myself. I felt sick. My stomach got upset. I, weighed myself for the next few days in a row. I was, bigger by the minute. Like, it just kept on and kept on growing. And how is that? Like, I know going into those binges or going into those like decisions to eat off plan, I know that I'm going to be unhappy. I know I'm going to feel bad physically. I know the worst part of it is how I feel mentally, or emotionally, or being disgusted with myself. And I see it on Instagram all day, every day. I see people posting on Instagram, I'm so ashamed of myself. I'm so embarrassed. I've gained X number of pounds back. I've been off track for X number of days or X number of months. I don't know why I did this to myself. Like, I've said all those same things myself, but I see it on Instagram pretty much on a daily basis, and it just breaks my heart. Why should you feel that way? Why would you want to feel that way? Why do you want to struggle? Struggling sucks. I'm not making light of it. I did it for years. So I'm looking here. Okay, so I'm looking here to make sure I can see your comments. Anyways, maybe they're over here. There we go. All right, so I just wanted to come on and talk to you about that, about my personal experience with it. I want to ask you, how can I help you? If you will please let me know what you're struggling with the most and tell me, what is it that goes through your mind when you end up going off track, or what keeps you from staying on track. And I've been there. I've been through it all. I want to, have a good discussion about it. So a question here, can you give tips on keeping on track of not cheating? I'm a prime example of self-sabotage. Yes. So I get that. Self-sabotage, been there so many times. And do you want to let me tell you, like, one of the weirdest things I went through was when I got really close to my goal weight. When I got within 20 pounds of my goal weight, I kept sabotaging it. And it's one of those, you'll have fear of failure when it comes to starting. You're like, I almost hate to start because I'm afraid I'm going to fail. But toward the end, I got that whole like fear of success thing going on. Like, I don't know what it feels like not to struggle. I don't know what it feels like not to diet. I don't know what it feels like to be my goal weight. I don't know if I'm going to be comfortable in that skin. And I got, within 20 pounds of my goal weight, I got where I felt very uncomfortable about it, very self-conscious about it. People comment on it a lot. I'm introverted and shy. The fact that I'm home alone right now is, that makes this easy for me. But anyways, I started freaking out, and I would go on all-out binges and sabotage my goal weight. Like, within 20 pounds of it, I did that for probably 2 years. Scared to death to reach my goal. Then what do? I didn't know. And so anyway, it turns out life is fun at goal weight too. It's all good. You just keep eating keto. You keep enjoying life. You get more active. You have more fun. You get to wear prettier clothes, things like that. So except on the weekends, you can go comfies. Anyways, I'm just saying that it freaked me out. It was a mindset thing, and I kept sabotaging, my success. We do the weirdest things to ourselves. You guys, the mind is a tricky place. It is a weird place. You need to retrain that brain and say, no, that doesn't make any sense at all. In fact, I did a whole journal entry where called The Lies I Tell Myself. All right, so sorry if I missed it, but where can I get into the 90-day challenge? It is 90daylowcarbchallenge.com. So let me look and see if because I'm pretty sure that I must have put this in the wrong place. All right, so sorry about that. Anyway, it's 90daylowcarbchallenge.com. So yeah, so the whole point, it's messy in here. Sorry, I'm in my food room. So, I think that it's important to get the mindset straight and figure out, what it takes to stay on track. As far as some more tips for staying on track and not cheating, the first thing that I recommend is logging your meals. Log everything, even if it's not low carb. Every single thing you eat. And here's the trick that I do. I use my Fitness Pal or whatever you use, and I have an app on my phone, right? So I log it before I eat it. And then it's easy to stick to the portions and stuff because I log how much I'm going to eat, or whatever. So that's the portions I make. That's what I put on my plate. I put everything away and I go sit down and eat it. Or I decide before I go to a restaurant or before I get fast food, I decide where I'm going to eat. What I'm going to eat, I go ahead and log it, and that's exactly what I get. Now, if I happen to eat something off plan, I log it too. And I think that's important because it holds you accountable. You're accountable to yourself. And if you're logging it before you do it, it gives you that opportunity to say, you know what, I really don't think I want to eat this, and make a different decision, that kind of thing. But it comes down to also finding good replacements, low carb replacements for foods that maybe that you think, oh, I could never live without that. Like people say, I could never live without bread. There's low carb bread, you guys. I make low carb bread at home. I make low carb pancakes, low carb muffins. There's low carb cookies. There's low carb recipes for everything. So there's no excuses. And there's low carb foods anywhere. McDonald's, Arby's, Pizza Hut, Domino's, delivery, you name it. There's any restaurant there's great low carb options at any restaurant. So anyway, just some tips for you to get started. Continue the discussion, leave a comment, and I would love to help you any way I can, because that thread really just broke my heart. And I don't want you to feel discouraged or disgusted. I don't want you to be struggling. I don't want you to gain back weight you worked really hard to take off. And I've been through it all. I've been through self-sabotage, binge eating, just the dieting roller coaster, the on off, the being hard on myself, all that kind of stuff. And I would love to save you some of the struggles I went through myself, if that's possible. Again, I've been eating low carb now for almost 8 years. And it's super easy. I've come up with lots of great options for easy meals at home and restaurant meals, fast food meals, recipes, all kinds of stuff. So I'm happy to help any way that I can. The link for the challenge, someone asked, is 90daylowcarbchallenge.com. My food diaries are at travelinglowcarb.com. So at any rate, I'll see you guys back in the group, and leave a comment. Let's chat.